The politic view. Its definition is a overall view of politics, being able to see things as they are, how they fit together, a puzzle of sort. In the box, it's a mess, but it's the time spent putting it together that one can truly see the picture.
Is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
There is a new party which it is difficult to characterize because it is made up of several elements. As I see it, it is made up of three elements in particular. The first consists of those Republicans whose consciences and whose stomachs could not stand what the regular Republicans were doing. Added to this element are a great many men and women of noble character and of elevated purpose who believe that this combination of forces may in the future bring them out on a plane where they can accomplish those things that their hearts have so long desired. I have no word of criticism for them. Then there is a third element in the new party of which the less said the better. To discuss it would be interesting only if I could mention names, and I have forbidden myself that indulgence. We have in this party two things: a political party and a body of social reformers. Mr. Roosevelt puts forth an admirable platform of what he would like to do for the people. But how is he going to do it? He proposes in his platform not to abolish monopoly, but to take it under the legal protection of the government and to regulate it. In other words, to take the very men into partnership who have been making it impossible to carry out these great programs by which all of us wish to help the people. It is perfectly idle to talk of doing things when your hands are tied for you, so long as the men who now control the industry of the country continue to control it. Now, we don't want to disturb the industry of the country. We are not here to destroy the industry which these men have built up, but we are here to destroy the control over the industry of other people which these men have established, and which makes it impossible that we should give ourselves a free hand in the service of the people. There are two programs. The Democratic program is this: to see to it that competition is so regulated that the big fellow cannot put the little fellow out of business. For he has been putting the little fellow out of business for the last half generation. The program of the third party is to take these big fellows that have been putting the little fellow out of business and regulate them, saying that is all right, you have put the other fellows out of business, but we are not going to put the little fellows back where you destroy them. We are going to adopt you and say, run the business of the country, but run it in the way we tell you to run it. The only thing you have to choose between, therefore, is this: are you going to have fresh brains injected into the business of this country, and the best men win, or are you going to make the present combinations permanent?
CNN, I was questioned after I spoke in 2007 about Barack Obama. And CNN said, well, what do you think about this young man? I said, I think he's brilliant. I think he has fresh ideas. But I'm under no illusion that even if he did become president, that he could change the reality of black suffering in America, because when you are running for something, you can say a lot of things, but when you sit in the seat and you feel the energy of electricity putting something on your backside, the forces that surround power is always the real power. President Obama does not run this country. President Obama has been chosen to govern white affairs. And if in that process we get something, it won't be because the governing powers want it. It will be because we organized and forced a government to speak to our needs. Now, look, thank you for the question. You know, I want it clearly said in love that I love my brother. I voted for him. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I was out there with my wife voting for our brother. I, like you, am very proud that a black man sits in the White House. But I also understand very clearly, and we should understand, that it is the White House. And until we exercise power to force that house to address our agenda. Now remember, our dear sister Julianne Malvo mentioned A. Philip Randolph. Man, that was long time ago. And the cry was jobs and justice. In the March on Washington in 1963, the cry was jobs and justice. In the 20-year anniversary of the March on Washington, the cry was jobs and justice. We are now in 2010. And what is the cry? Jobs and justice. Well, wait a minute.
Yes, truly, wait a minute. Do you realize that that's George Bush Sr. talking about a new world order? Do you realize that that's a speech from 1917 done by Woodrow Wilson, speaking on the hidden powers that control the government? Do you know that this is Louis Farrakhan speaking on people controlling the U.S. presidents? See, it's not about what you think or what you feel or what group or party you think you belong to. What it's about is the future of your children and your grandchildren, And as you can tell, there are forces at play, There are things that will hinder not only their freedom, but their lives as well. We got to pay attention to the things that are going on in front of us, because they are telling us They are showing us exactly who they are if you are willing to look at what they are saying and dissect it instead of being programmed to just repeat it. Because a lot of us see and hear things and we just repeat them. We don't do the necessary work. But I don't understand why or how people could live that way and give people that much power over the people that they claim to love. I mean, because it's your duty to make sure that you are correct, but you're not going to make sure others are correct when dealing with the future of your children and their lives. You got to take note to the things that just seem to keep repeating themselves, the things that keep reoccurring. You can't allow the same things to keep taking place because they're not going to be or remain in the same manner or ways. Things change. So although you grew up being represented by a party that may have done this, this, and this, doesn't mean that they will continue to give or do these things. It doesn't matter about your race. It doesn't matter about your creed. It doesn't even matter about your sexuality. What it matters is that they're using PR against you. What matters is you're being manipulated to a point where you think you have control, but you don't. Because all you seem to do is regurgitate that which they put in these here media outlets. But understand that they only will allow you to say, do, and convince people of so much before they find ways to get you to basically give up your stance, acquiesce to it. Um, you know, there are a lot of different entities and a lot of different powers, both politically and non-politically, that gather to plot out what their next move is. And when they do these things, they put them in front of you. Like Project 21, Project uh, 30 were both constructed back in 2015. Project 2025, if you notice or if you have read up on it, it does have a lot of good qualities and a lot of good points in it. That's where I tell anybody, you know, it will come down to what Trump plans to implement that will either make or break the next few years in America. Because you got to remember that, you know, Project 2030, is 4 or 5 years away. And the UN has stated that by the time by the time 2030 comes, their plan, their agenda, their program, everything they have desired to implement will be fully, and I do mean fully functional. So that would say to you and me, running out of time. That would mean, if that's true, this may be your last election. So that would mean that there's a lot at stake. So if you think you have the answers, you owe it to someone to make sure that you're right. You can't sit around and say, well, that's conspiracy theory. You can't say that no longer, having watched the president say these things out their mouth, or having heard the president say these things out their mouth. Because I can pull up a lot more information where Ronald Reagan says something similar, where JFK has said something similar, George Bush Jr., I mean, even Bill Clinton, they all let each other know that they are part of the program. They all work in cahoot. These systems actually don't change hands for 10, 15 years. I mean, it basically takes for someone to get sick or ill for people to start walking away from these political parties and these political positions. So if you take that into account, what someone was trying to implement the last election, it gets refurbished in the next two, meaning that's still a part of the agenda. All they do is figure out how to manifest it and how to get you to acquiesce to what they manifest. We are going to sit down this November in a voting booth and we're going to check boxes. We're not going to check boxes with the understanding of who's running the country, how they're running the country, what have they done for the country, what have they taken from the country. These are things that are very important before you give someone that much power over you. Just because I or anyone else can get on any media site, application, or TV show and tell you, this person's this or this person's that, doesn't make it so. They are playing you with PR. They are playing you for fear. They are playing you with the hopes that you will not do the homework. You will not do the research, the footwork. You will not take time out to get a true understanding of what your needs even are. Because most people are going to vote without understanding what needs they truly have. Meaning, okay, if you vote for Kamala Harris, some of the things that she may or may not plan to implement may go against, something that you have going on in your life. But you would never know it because that would be basically like a contract. It's in the fine print. That means you got to take time out to really search to see what the hidden agenda is, what the things are you are not making public, what the things are that you are willing to implement and take away, without telling the masses before you do it. Because every president has the power to, write in executive orders. They don't have to explain or tell nothing to nobody. And understanding this Project 2030, where I've read that, most of it is just gibberish. Most of it is just repeating itself. How they plan to sustain the world, how they plan to take away some of your rights without you even understanding it. Everything doesn't mean good for you. Everybody can't mean good for you as well. Quit just getting up, doing the same thing, expecting different results. You get up every day. You do the same thing every day. But every day, they taking more and more taxes out your pocket. Every day, there's less and less food on your table. Every day, gas goes up more and more. Every day, they push you for some type of fear. Call it fear mongering. You know what I'm saying? You got to step away from allowing people to have total control over who you are, who you can be, the things you can say, and the things you can do. I'm not saying there's not meant to be rules to things, but what I am saying is those rules should be what they already consider in the Constitution to be innate, to be God-given rights, something that no one can take from you. But as we can see, or as if we pay attention, should I say, because we see a lot of things, but we don't pay attention, that they still do whatever they deem fit to be right is what they gonna do. Whoever is funding their campaign, that's who they're gonna listen to. They're not listening to the American people because the American people are not setting up with demands. The American people are not looking for anything. The American people have gotten used to being fed PR for so long that we don't know whether we're coming or going. They got you looking up when you should be looking left. They got you looking down when you should be looking behind you. It's crazy to understand that people will not take time out to get a better understanding of what truly is going on. They just regurgitate everything to a point where now they can use these apps to fact check you. Well, if you look at it, that's a part of the UN plan. Fact check you. That's a part of the UN plan to keep your speech regulated to a point where they not only want to regulate your speech, but they want to regulate your religion. And although these things that they have written up say they will help protect you and your rights upon these things, they're also going to deem to you what religion you can have or what things you can say, like I am saying to you now. That's the purpose of fact checking. Fact checking is to keep you basically in line so you can't get people to understand, think, or believe, feel, or know something that goes against the agenda. And I'm only able to talk like this because the UN hasn't taken total control. See, we're not looking at what the purpose to the open borders are. And in my last two videos, what I wanted you to see is, number one, the economic hitman and how they use that theory to topple countries from within just by being in compliance, being in agreement. In agreement. Being one who is willing or is a willing participant to what they, at some point, what I have come to understand is a lot of times these countries get into these agreements thinking that they're doing their citizens and their people some good, knowing that they're going to line their pockets as well, but they're thinking they're going to do some good. But in the long run, short order, they do no one good. Short order. The people figure it out within years, 5 to 10, that this was not a good situation. This has been happening over and over and over again. People want to equate this whole election cycle to the era of Hitler. What I am trying to get you to understand that there is an era before Hitler. And in one of my videos, in my last video, actually, I posted pictures of it to show you that it's real. It really exists. And it's called the Great Purge. You can look it up. It's called the Great Purge. Go on there and figure out what time frame that the Great Purge actually took place. And do understand and do take note of what the purge means and stands for. Because in truth, you can call a purge some type of ethnic cleansing or some type of slaughter en masse. So when you add that understanding to the factor that you got ex-presidents talking this and talking that. Look at the current situation in UN. Excuse me. You look at the current situation that you're in now, and ask yourself: can you afford to be wrong? Can you afford to vote just because this here app, TV, or any other media apparatus tells you to? Because they pay people to do a job. And that job is going to be done well because they want to keep that job, because they do these things for financial gain of selfish purpose. It is not for the community. It is not for the neighborhood, the city. It is not for the state or the states that the countries come with. It is not to give power to the people. It is only to give more power to those who control the financial system. It is only that they want absolute. They want to share nothing with nobody. But they're prepared to reach this goal through their grandchildren. Yes, I said it right, and yes, you heard it right. In other words, that's absolute generational wealth. That's absolute generational wealth. That is total generational wealth. Why? Because their forefathers set a plan in motion that the next generation carries out. And if you look at that in your presidency, you can go back and you can learn what is true about how many presidents were actually related. Go back a little further than that and understand the origin of some of these families that not only became president and where they're from, the origins of their family, but go back and look at what financial elite families had their influences and their hands in the cookie jar. Do not get up there and vote because this is a woman. Do not get up there and vote because you like the orange-haired man. Because I could tell you for face value what I've learned. I don't know that you really want to hear it, and I keep saying it, but I'm not going to say it here because I want you to come to your own understanding, your own conclusion on what it is that you should do for those that you love. But do take into account one more again that Project 21 has came to pass. Project 30 is the ultimate goal. It is when they win, people. You have to understand they're building bunkers for a reason. Look it up. I can't tell you, but one of these app owners was forced to build a bunker, and that Joan $200+ million. Now take that into account and understand that it'll only hold 30 families in the world with 8 billion people. Not only that, but the U.S. government and all its factions got an underground city built. These are not conspiracy theories, but you do have to admit, to have the word conspiracy theory, you got to get people in a room that are willing to come up with goals and plans. You call that conspiring. Whether it's good or bad is the only question. But once again, you call that conspiring. So, if you take the theory off, you have some truth to a lot of this. And then you get people that are going to be willing to wake up. If you quit regurgitating, that's conspiracy. I don't get into that. Because the very entity that you give in power to is telling you these things. This is their goal. And just because it was said in this era doesn't mean that that quit being their goal. No, it only means that they use time and effort to manifest, to perfect, to substantiate, and to further any idealism, any wars, any loss of life, any arguments or debates on politics or anything thereof in front of you. They are going to keep you blinded as long as you keep repeating the same thing. Check the box and walk away. Check the box and walk away. That's what they're counting on you to do. Check the box and walk away. Kamala Harris said she's going to do this, she's going to do that. Check the box, walk away. Trump said he's going to do this, Trump said he's going to do that. Check the box and walk away. This is what they're counting on. They're not counting on you using one last push to say, wait a minute, we the American people want to know. We demand this, we demand that. No, they're not going to give you that chance to say that because you had it. You didn't take it. And make no mistakes about it, people. Whether you want to agree with it or not, you truly did not vote anywhere for Kamala Harris. I cannot see where you allow that to happen as an American people, as a free country, because the freedom of choice was not given to you. So if you walk away from this election knowing that that freedom was not given to you, do not be mad when it's not there in the future. Do not be mad when it's not there in the future. Because these are the things they do. These are the way they do things to take small freedoms and rights away from you. And one day you're going to wake up, you're going to look up, and you're going to see yourself in chains and realize how you got there and know that it's way too late. Because by then, they control everything. And understand what I mean by everything, I mean what you can say, because they can see and hear you. What you can do, because the ultimate goal, people, is to put a computer chip in your body. Don't forget that. And that is on the line here. Because believe, the minute that they can implement a world government, they're going to implement a world religion and a world currency. And anyone that does not fall in line, or anyone that has spoke against the powers, are either going to be put to death or in prison forever. These are your only choices. Once this becomes fully augmented, this is your only choice. You either fall in line to get a good position in the play of it all, or you be at the bottom, suffering, going through the things that, us poor people gonna go through. Because who else is gonna go through it? I mean, you got to be honest. So if that's not your children, because if you're my age, you're basically walking out the door of life already. But your children and your grandchildren, they still got a life ahead of them. So they're the ones that's got to figure out what we did wrong and how to fix it. But they're building robot police armies. I mean, why do you think that I chose to use the Avengers versus the Justice League? Think about it. You wonder how that woman got there. Obama seems to be the sole Superman, behind the scenes and can help save the Democratic Party. Trump is America's last great white hope, right? And understand, America changes once Steve Rogers died. This system and everything about it changes once Steve Rogers died, let alone his right-hand man being Elon Musk. And although I don't have to say it, I mean, can you not see the resemblance to Iron Man before you? Can you not see that there is powers here that we have not agreed on? There are powers here that we have not appointed overseers of what we, the American people, feel is right and deserves for their opinion first and foremost, let alone their direction and their verbiage from mouth to pen to determine what our freedoms, our lives, our goals, and our finances should be. If you could control that much power, wouldn't you? Remember, I'm your host, Darnell Henderson. Please, stay tuned. I'll be back at you.